christiangeekcentral.com.
Hold still! You lied to me!
In my face! In the face!
Put it in the peanut butter.
In my face! I thought you said this guy was a Christian. What is this?
Liberate tu te me.
I have my first therapy session on Tuesday. Cool. Well, hopefully that will be good for you. You're not talking about physical therapy. This is related to kind of the stuff that you've been going through lately. That's good. That's good. Our pastor calls that renting a friend. You know, that when no matter what's going on in your life, that's just kind of taken its toll on you emotionally or left some scars that are affecting your life. He says that's a good time to rent a friend. You know, and he really just tries, I think, in doing that to remove the stigma that I think in some generations past and in some people's mind, not in my mind, have a stigma associated with getting counseling or something like that. And I mean, I think that kind of stuff can be really eye-opening and informative about, you know, and just understanding yourself better. So I hope that goes well for you. Hi, Peter. I have a philosophical question for you. Well, I mean, I'll take a crack at it. It might be something that I'll want to give my full attention to, like, and get back to you in an email. But I mean, feel free to put it out there, and if I feel like I can give the focus to it that it deserves, then I'll take a crack at it. Do you agree that the proposition "a God exists" is an unfalsifiable claim? Yeah, I'd have to kind of halt the stream and like sit here for a few minutes and just do nothing but think about that, and maybe pull out a book and kind of refresh my memory on some reading I've done on that. And so that's a great question, and one I would love to chew on for a while. If you want to email that to me, I would be more interested in the question, is because I'm not interested, like, personally defending like just the idea of God in general so much as the God of the Bible. There's probably a logical framework that you could move that, like a filter that you could pass that through, that I don't have the brain power to do in a time that would be satisfying to you for in the middle of a live stream. So yeah, email that to me. I'm less interested in stuff like that than I am in, like, okay, is Christianity unfalsifiable? I think that one way that Christianity is falsifiable is produce the body of Jesus of Nazareth. Produce the body of Jesus of Nazareth, and his claims to resurrection and to being God, I think, are highly suspect. Oh, and my email, by the way, it might not be in the notes, like below this, but my email is paeter@spiritblade.com. And I really enjoy kind of revisiting those things, and because that's something I did some reading and thinking on a while back. The problem with my brain is that my memory is very poor, and so I often will read up on something and really do some what I think is fairly deep, deliberate thinking on it, and read as much as I can on it, and then I'll be persuaded to a certain position, but then I'll if you ask me 3 months, 6 months later why I wound up being persuaded, you know, to the particular position I ended up on, I'd have to go back and revisit the issue again. I just have a poor memory. What I can do is, in the meantime, recommend a resource for you, and that would be reasonablefaith.org. Reasonablefaith.org. It's a thinker on there by the name of Dr. William Lane Craig, who, if you haven't heard of him, is probably among the most respected, if not the most respected, defenders of the Christian faith today. Who's done a number of debates. You know, if you just want like kind of a fair sampling on an issue where equal time is given to, like, say, an atheist thinker and a Christian thinker, his debates are great for that, because he'll do them at universities, and the entire debate will be recorded. It's not edited down by Christians or atheists or anybody with an agenda to edit it a certain way. Although you can certainly find clips of him online edited with an agenda, either by a Christian or by a non-Christian. But the debates are the things that I'm really interested in, because it's like, okay, this is a level playing field. They're both given equal time. Whose arguments are really, standing up? And that's where I think his arguments really show their strength in comparison to the alternatives. In addition to his debates online, there's also a bunch of articles, FAQ type stuff that very well may cover the idea of whether or not the existence of God is a unfalsifiable truth claim. So yeah, I would highly recommend that as a resource to you. Again, that's reasonablefaith.org. Yeah, if that's your position, the claims of Christianity are unfalsifiable, such as the existence of angels or there being an afterlife. I think that Christianity is falsifiable if you can demonstrate internal logical inconsistency. Then I think there's potential for it to be falsifiable that way. You know, but if it's just like a truth claim like, there's an angel in the room with me right now, you know, just based on that statement alone, yeah, I think that's probably unfalsifiable, because what other data do we have to go on? But yeah, it sounds like the kind of the direction of your question, kind of where you're coming from. I think you would find that to be a really thought-provoking resource, a place to really truly test your ideas. I can give you the straw man alternative to test your idea against. But I don't think that's what you would want. I think you would want to really test your idea against the best available presentation of the alternatives. So reasonablefaith.org is where I would send you for that. At least for now. But like I said, please, if you want to follow up and email me, that'd be great too. How are you supposed to find out the truth of these claims? For me, when I believe something is true, I try to base that not on absolute certainty. There's some folks that will kind of come from that view where like they want to have absolute certainty about things, but the truth of the matter is we accept and believe a number of things day to day that we don't have absolute certainty about, you know. Like an example would be it's possible that someone planted a bomb in my car, but I have no reason to believe that. Yet I don't have absolute certainty that someone did not plant a bomb in my car. You know, I just have more reason than not to believe that no one planted a bomb in my car. So, and that's an extreme example, but I think that, you know, it's useful to use something like that to kind of bring out the point that ultimately we don't operate based on absolute certainty. We don't operate our lives based on absolute certainty about things. We operate our lives based on a degree of confidence in that something is true, that something is most likely to be true, or that something is most plausibly true. And so that's where, as far as like how do you discover the truth of something, I try to go in the direction of, okay, what is most likely to be true? And then that's what I'm going to choose to believe is true until there's a better explanation provided. The more I see about what you're writing, the more I want to recommend Reasonable Faith to you. Truth for me has to be evidence-based. Yeah, I think that's absolutely reasonable. I do not know of evidence for these claims. Reasonablefaith.org. If you want evidence that the truth claims of the Bible are legitimate and are to be believed, I cannot think of a better resource right now. In fact, you know, sometimes I think that my role is just to recommend far better resources than myself for the deeper questions of life. I feel like I, as a layperson, read enough to kind of stimulate some thought maybe and start a conversation. But I wouldn't consider myself a resource for someone that's really seeking out the truth about those things. But a resource like Reasonable Faith, man, I think it's right up the alley of your line of questioning. Another resource I like, just on the topic of resources, is Ravi Zacharias. His first name is spelled R-A-V-I, and then Zacharias, Z-A-C-H-A-R-A-I-A-S, I think. But if you put it like in Ravi Z-A-C-H in a search engine, you'll get Ravi Zacharias. I've listened to some of his teaching over the years. He does a radio program, but I've read one of his early books anyway. And he's also going to be dealing with some of those same types of questions. And I think he deals with heart issues a little bit more than William Lane Craig does. William Lane Craig is going to be more for folks that are purely in a place of having difficulty with the claims of the Bible on a rational basis. The tricky thing, though, is that a lot of people start there without realizing that there are actually some heart resistances, like some reasons that they would not like the claims of the Bible to be true. Even when the rational issues have been responded to, they can still have kind of like, a resistance, because let's face it, the ramifications of the truth claims of the Bible have a very major effect on how we view our lives, how we view the purpose of our lives, how we order our lives, how we feel about life. There's a lot of heart and emotional stuff that I think we kind of have to acknowledge is in play there. And so Ravi Zacharias is good at both the logical side. He doesn't go as deep on the logical side and the evidence and stuff, like historical evidence and stuff. That he's going to be more on the philosophical, logical side. But he's also really good at dealing with the heart issues and exploring those issues that we can be unaware of. So yeah, Ravi Zacharias would be another one. Oh crap! Oh, this guy's got a gun. I'm really looking forward to see where they go with this, with the story of this game in Assassin's Creed Origins. They take some pretty some pretty big liberties with history, both history as recorded in the Bible and history recorded elsewhere and about other time periods, going so far as to say that, like, Jesus did what he did because he had a kind of a superpowered alien cape, or a superpowered alien device. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the setting of ancient Egypt. When a person reads the Bible, would you agree that a person would have to assume the supernatural realm? Well, no. I mean, I think that maybe you can rephrase that question to if you're getting at something different. But I think that many people read the Bible without assuming a supernatural origin. Many historians will read the Bible and they enter into that process with their mind already decided on atheism or agnosticism or something like that. And so they're not assuming that going into their reading of the Bible. I think if you're going to believe the truth claims that the Bible records and states, oops, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do that, then yeah, I don't know how you would believe the truth claims of the Bible without assuming the reality of that which is above or outside or independent of the natural world. Again, that subject there, that's something that Dr. William Lane Craig specializes in, specifically about, what the nature of the first cause of the universe would have to be, and how God is the best explanation of the beginning of the universe. Hey. Oh, okay. Good night, my boy. Love you.
Bye.
Sleep good. Bye-bye. Hi to you 2000 says, P.S. off subject, thank you for Defenders podcast. You mean for recommending the Defenders podcast? Yeah, that's Dr. William Lane Craig's weekly theology podcast, and yeah, that's a great listen. In fact, I've been kind of dinking around, and while I exercise, sometimes I'll watch something on his YouTube channel, and he's actually doing a video recording of that he puts up on YouTube now, of the Defenders class. Even if God is the best explanation for the universe, how would we know the truth of that claim? Well, for me, that comes back to, I choose to believe, I think it is absolutely reasonable to believe that the most reasonable explanation of something is the truth. So I may not be understanding your question if that answer doesn't kind of feel like it's a response to it. I may not be understanding your question right. The fundamental groundwork that Dr. Craig lays out in his Defenders podcast, he starts out with talking about things like that, like the nature of knowledge itself. So the Defenders podcast as well might be a good resource for you, and I think you could find that. I mean, I know it's at reasonablefaith.org. I couldn't tell you exactly how to navigate to it. If you're asking about the connection between plausibility and knowledge, knowing something to be true, then you're getting into kind of like a semantic and philosophical realm where you're going to want to read from some and hear from some minds and some thinkers that are going to be able to state that certainly more precisely than I can while I'm playing a video game at the same time, and probably, well, I think certainly with more precision than I could even with my full faculties committed to answering the question. So yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record for you, but I really do think that reasonablefaith.org is going to be just a great resource for you to explore and test ideas. I mean, I like the questions you're asking. I like the way you're trying to kind of reason through it. I wish I could be of more help to you right now at this particular moment. Come in. Oh, no. No, thank you.
Where are you?
Love you.
You're recording.
It's late. It's late. I'm gonna have to carry you out of here, aren't I?
No.
Yeah, because you're not gonna leave if I don't. Oh, I'll be right back, guys. Oh. I recently came up with an analogy on how free will and election could actually work together. Can I run it by you? Sure. That's a one of those heavy ones. And again, with this one, I don't know that I'll have anything really much to say to advance the topic with you, but I'm interested. So a guy proposes to his girlfriend. Out of all the girls in the world, he chose her to be his wife. Election. After this, he proposes she has to choose if she wants to accept or not. Free will. Yeah. I mean, the thing with, like, my gut reaction is like, yeah, sure, that works. But I mean, with what I'm trying to challenge myself with now is, okay, where would that break? Because all metaphors like that, I feel like on this issue ultimately have a breaking point. So I'm trying to pick through and figure out where the breaking point on that one would be. I'm probably not going to be able to do it right now. I think the question there would be, like, on the Calvinist view, there ultimately is no potential for the girl in this scenario to say no. On the Calvinist view, someone is chosen by God, and there is zero possibility that they would say yes, that they are that they would be unable to exercise their will to say no to God's choosing of them. Rugged, I like the idea that the future does not exist, not the same way the present and past does. God can't know the future the same way he knows past and present. Well, again, the question there for me would be the word no. Are you talking about an experiential knowledge? I think what we see in the Bible is that God intellectually knows, at the very least, the future. Crap. See, I'm just wandering around this village. I'm trying to get into these great topics with you guys. But it's a video game live stream, not a sit quietly and think on a live video feed about great deep questions. Who would tune in for that? Can you guys imagine that? We're like, hey, tune in this Friday from 4 to 10 p.m. I will be intermittently saying a few fragmented sentences and then lapsing into deep silent thought for about 40 minutes at a time. During that time, I may or may not get up to read books from my bookshelf. And if you say that you want that live stream, you're lying. Well, no, maybe you're not, but I can't imagine how many people would want that. Hey, just a reminder that this humble little YouTube channel is so dependent on people just like you. There are 3 main ways you can support this channel, and they're all over at spiritblade.com. The first is to purchase one of our sci-fi or fantasy audio dramas. Second is to give us a donation of any amount. And third, you can become a Spirit Blade insider and get access to exclusive, behind-the-scenes monthly goodies. You can get more information on our About page over at spiritblade.com. Thanks so much.